News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you on this Sunday until the top of the hour. Thank you for joining us, folks. With us, great folks. As always, we've got Chuck Crosby, who is the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. Not only do they do a great job of closing your loan, and by the way, you can pick the closing attorney that you want, but Chuck does a number of other things, including wills, and does a great job at that. He did my will and my kids will, and we appreciate him for that. I'm always recommending Chuck for a variety of things. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. Also here, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, and also Team Bug Out, which if you're looking for a place to get rid of your bugs, Team Bug Out as well. But his mainstay, Home Team Inspection Service, is the #1 Home Team Inspection Service, 8 years in a row here in the United States, and we love him for it. You can reach Home Team Inspection at 844-411-TEAM. All right, gents, and I'm Bob Sokoler, and you can reach me if you're thinking about selling your home now or in the future. We can help you. I can come out. You can do it by Zoom or by phone as well, but typically I go out, we talk. There's no fee, no obligation for me to come out. We can review the process, and then if and when you're ready, we can sell it at your time and with your money, what you want to get out of it. We can make it happen. You can call me anytime at 376-5483. Coming up a little later on in the show, vacations are coming. We've got ways to make your home look like you're still living in it and fool burglars. That's a little later on in the show. If you were with us last week, you heard the story. Tragic. David, who had given a contractor $50,000, and then the contractor just up and split. David never got the repairs, and he was left holding a empty bag, so to speak. So one of our listeners, Randy, called me immediately after the show. We love to hear from you, by the way. I do take calls all the time. I love talking to you. I'll give you my number out in just a minute again. Anyway, so Randy himself was a victim of fraud, and he wrote us a whole bit of information on what to do if you're going to hire a contractor. I sent it over to Chuck. Chuck's going to parse it down, but just know we have a whole list. If you want, send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com, and I'll forward you Randy's complete document of what to do when you're hiring a contractor. But Chuck, give us kind of a thumbnail sketch since we only have 30 minutes.
Okay. Thumbnail sketch is be very vigilant. I mean, know who you're dealing with. Some guy comes up and says, "Hey, let me do this for you." You want to do some background check. Now, as Randy points out here, some ideas that will tell you whether or not this person is, actually useful or used frequently for this kind of thing, and also with protection, is to check their insurance. Have them give you some insurance. You don't want somebody getting up on your roof if they fall off. You don't want them to be suing you. You want to have insurance. The folks that aren't going to have insurance, you might not want to hire. So that works in more than just one way. Always have it in writing, he points out. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. Most of the time, people aren't going to fall for that. The question is, are the people that you're dealing with solvent? You can have 101 contracts with a person that are airtight, and if they don't have any assets, well, there's not much you can do about it. Paper will take you only so far. But again, as he points out, if they have insurance, you can get things like performance bonds put on there, where the insurance company guarantees that the job will be done. They won't run off with your money. But I think most importantly, as he points out here, don't give them money until you're done. If they're asking you for some amount up front to get the materials, well, you can always offer to go get the materials yourself. Go directly to the place. Now, back when I was involved in building, I used to do stonemasonry, these many, many decades ago. You can actually tell who are the good contractors by whether or not they're paying their bill at the supplier. Mm-hmm. Is the supplier trying to do all sorts of things? Those are some of the things he points out. One thing, I don't see it here immediately, but I remember he said the folks that folks he'll give you as references. Well, that's great. But again, have him tell the suppliers to talk to you and give you a reference. Yeah, he pays his bills and that sort of thing, because that's at least where I've been involved.
Yeah.
That's where things start falling apart. If you're not paying your suppliers, you're not really sitting in a good spot.
Yeah, you're not solvent. All right. So again, if you want more, there's a whole lot of this. And if you send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com, and we'll send this out. I'll just copy basically the information, send it to you, what Randy put together. We thank you, Randy, by the way, for listening to us as well as contributing to the show. If you want to hear and see a rebroadcast of today's show, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That is LouisvilleAnswers.com. We do this as a Zoom show, and we send it up to YouTube as well. So you get a chance to see us and hear us as well. We go over to Brad Lawler with Home Team Inspection. Risa sent us an email. She moved into an older home, Brad, that's about 50 years old, and it smells like it's an old home. She says, quoting here, "It smells like grandma's attic." She wants to know, how can she make her home smell new? Should she have the vents cleaned? Should she have the walls painted? What's going to give her a newer home smell? And I guess you could help her here on this. Brad.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good question, and it's pretty common, because what happens is the contents of the home will determine what the home smells like. And even though the former folks moved out, a lot of the odors are left behind. We see a lot of pet odors. We see a lot of odors that are caused by water damage. Anytime that things are getting wet, whether it's wet wood, whether it's wet carpet, padding, drywall, a lot of the moisture gets left behind. That's where a lot of the odors are coming from that you're smelling in these houses. So, I mean, the quickest way to get the new house smell is to put new materials in, new carpeting in particular will make a dramatic change, or removing the old carpeting. If you've got old drapes or old curtains, you still see those things hanging up, those will hold on to a lot of those odors too. So any of the soft surfaces you would want to replace, that will change the odor profile of the house. Certainly a fresh coat of paint will potentially seal up some of the odors that you have on the walls right now, and will give you the new latex paint smell, which is not necessarily pleasant, but it will put it into something that's going to smell a little bit newer, a little fresher.
But do ceilings as well, and trim, right?
Yeah,
trim.
Basically all of the surfaces. And if you've moved into a home where there's been a smoker, you may have to use specialized paint in order to seal up the nicotine against the wall. That's the only way to get rid of that. Ozone treatments, Ozium, that only goes so far. It doesn't really eliminate the problem. You really have to seal those up.
What about vents? Cleaning the air duct vents?
The vents are, if they are holding a lot of dust, they'll also hold odors. So you may want to just look down inside of the return, see how much dirt or debris you have there. Maybe use a small mirror, and you can see down the line. If there is dirt and dust, then certainly a duct cleaning is in order.
Good. All right, and especially if you've had construction in your home recently, where there's been dust and sawdust, things like that, that could be in the vents as well. It might be worth it to clean. Anyway,
and new construction, we see a lot of debris, left in ductwork. Just
builders don't clean them out, huh? They don't clean them.
Not that I've seen.
Down the road, we should do something about what to look for in a duct cleaning company. I think we'll actually. I saw an email come in a couple of months ago about that. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I'll try to put that on the front burner for next week or next time we're with you. All right, Chuck, this is an interesting question. Jeannie sent us an email. She says she sold a number of her properties in recent years, received the checks from the closing, several or more closing attorneys, some of which were out of state. So I guess there's properties in other states. And she put those checks into a jar. She was told by a dear friend of hers that she needs to deposit those checks ASAP, but she's not quite sure about that. So the checks are sitting, and they could be a number of years old, and she doesn't know what she should be doing. And I thought we'd pass it over to you. What should Jeannie and anybody else who's got checks sitting in a jar of some sort do?
Honestly, I would get back with the company that issued the check and say, hey, I need this check reissued. Now, you've got certain issues going on here. After 3 years, those checks are supposed to be escheated to the state.
What does that mean? So wait, we'll back up.
Okay. If I have an escrow account, if you leave money in that escrow account over a particular period of time, we have to send out letters to those folks saying, hey, you need to do something with this check, or I'm going to send all that money to the state. And then the state puts it in that, you've seen it when you go to the state fair. Oh, look up your name and see if you're owed money. The state gets to hold it. So if it's over 3 years, she might not be able to get them to write her that check. Money might already be with the state, and then she would have to go to the state and prove who she was, that it was her money, and then get it from them. If it's under that time frame, just contact the company that wrote the check and say, oh, hey, never deposited it. Go ahead and let's do that. Now, if it's an attorney's escrow account, the money had darn well better still be there. And honestly, if I wrote a check out to someone for closing proceeds and it's not cashed within, generally 60 days, the guys that audit my books, we have our books audited, a quick audit every day, and every 30 days, a more incisive audit. They will send me all manner of nasty grams saying, hey, you need to get this person to cash that check. You just can't leave money hanging out there with an attorney's escrow account. It really can get ugly. So with that being said, I have had people try and or have issues, hey, we put the check in the folder and we forgot about it. They'll call me up, a couple, 3 months later and say, what do we do? I say, well, come on by and I'll rewrite the check out to you.
Can she not just deposit the checks in a checking account?
It depends on the age. It depends on the age. And it depends on the bank. Some banks won't let you deposit checks that are over a particular period of time. I'm pretty sure any check that I write, you can do that with, as long as the bank account is still open. Because if you're hanging on to it for years, you also have to take into account the fact that people can also change banks.
So so it could be closed out. What about the possibility these days of the bank that the check was written on going belly up, or the closing attorney going belly up?
Well, the banks going belly up. There, to my knowledge, there aren't any banks that have just gone flat out. They're always purchased by another bank. So all the deposits, all the whatever, move on to the new bank, like you've seen here in the last couple of months. There's another bank that has purchased that bank. So those accounts are still out there. But with an attorney's escrow account, the money will either be there or there's an issue. Because I can't take money out of my account for my own benefit. I can't just say, oh, hey, they haven't cashed the check, now it's mine. That's not how that works. But there is always the possibility over 3 years that it's been escheated to the state.
Got it. All right. And folks, if this sounds familiar, you may want to talk to your relatives, parents, grandparents, because it's common, I think, with some folks. They get a check, they don't think anything more about it, they put it in a drawer or a jar, and then they forget about it. And so you may want to check, right? Isn't that the case?
Yeah, I will say that it doesn't happen that often. But if it goes over 30 days, I get the letter and I'm calling people saying, hey, I wrote you a check, you haven't deposited it yet. Usually it's the smaller ones. People stick it in their wallet and forget about it. But I've still got, I had to track down a real estate company the other day to have them deposit a commission check that was several months old. And I had called them, and each time they'd say, oh, yeah, we'll deposit it. And it never got deposited.
Never.
Finally did. But, we follow up with that sort of thing. So, but you just don't leave checks in a jar.
Got it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more of your questions. Also, with vacations coming up, we've got ways to make it look like your home and fool burglars. With us continuing, Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job at getting your loan closed. Chuck is not only very personable, entertaining, and interesting, but he tells great anecdotes. And may I suggest you ask Chuck at the end of the closing, what is the meaning of life? And he will give you the standard answer, but you'll laugh anyway. And then also, and you can reach Chuck, by the way, 499-6360. And then Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They get the job done quick and accurate. And you can reach Brad at 844-411-TEAM. And if you have problems with termites, bugs, or anything like that, he also now has Team Bug Out. And Brad, give out that number for Team Bug Out.
502-357-7700.
You got it. And then if you're thinking about selling, we can come out. I can talk to you on the phone, via Zoom, via FaceTime, whatever it might be, or in person. And we can talk about what the plan might be looking like, and then come out and help you get the home sold on your time frame. We're going to take a break. You can reach me, by the way, 376-5483, or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com or WeSellLouisville.com. Back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show with you until the top of the hour. We thank you, Barbara Corcoran. By the way, for a guaranteed sale program, there are no extra fees. You can cancel at any time. And if you're thinking of selling, we'd love to be able to help you. I love Barbara Corcoran. She endorses us. There's a reason why, because we do the job. If you'd like to have me come out, 376-5483. That's 376-5483. Continuing with us, Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job at closings, wills, and a variety of other things. You can reach Chuck at 499-6360. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come out as a team and they can get your job done. You can pick the inspector that you want, and you can reach Brad and his team at 844-411-TEAM. And my son Greg has the morning off. He's already working, actually, but just not on the radio show. Okay, vacations are coming. We've got some tips for you, some things that will help you so that burglars think you're home. For example, install motion sensor lights so that if there's any movement outside, the lights come on. Also, install timers inside on specific lamps that go on and go off. Try remote-controlled cameras, which will help you monitor your house from afar. I've got a series of Nest cameras, which is now owned by Google, but they've got plenty of them out there, Ring and a variety of other companies. Then you can also leave a TV on. And so that TV video at night looks like someone's home. Also put a car in the driveway. You want to make sure that lets people think that you're home, or your friend or your neighbor. Take care of newspapers and mail so it's not sitting on the driveway or in the mailbox. Look into lawn maintenance. If you cut your own lawn, have someone cut it for you while you're gone. And beware of your blinds. Burglars peek through blinds. If you leave them open wide, it might take crooks only a single peek to realize that nobody's home. Try to leave them cracked, only slightly open, at least the ones on the ground floor windows. Some of the tips. We go back to our questions. And Marcia writes in, Brad, her hot water heater in her new condo needs to be replaced. It is required to have it registered with the state, as that's what she's being told. If so, why? It's a question for us, and maybe we should all take a lesson from what you're about to tell us.
Yeah. So, again, home inspectors are not, we're not involved in code, but the answer to this is that any type of water heater replacement requires a code inspection. So yes, it's not necessarily registering it or licensing it with the state, but we have to have that inspected by the plumbing code inspector after the unit is installed. Some people, want to do that as a do-it-yourself project. If you've got the skills and know-how, great, but it still requires the city or county inspector to come out and inspect the installation of the water heater. That's a Kentucky regulation.
What's the reason? What are they looking for when they?
Well, it's safety is going to be part of it, but that's going to be, well, for a water heater anyway, it's going to be safety. Of course, plumbing inspectors have a lot of concern about gray water getting back into the system to make sure there's not dirty water going back into the clean water, the municipal water supply. So that's the other side of it, but less applicable for a water heater install. But any plumbing updates like that require that type of inspection.
Got it. Chuck, over to you. Marnie is writing in. She wants to turn her home into an Airbnb for added income, but she heard that some parts of our city are cracking down on homeowners who are renting out their homes. She's wondering what the laws are, if you know, and what fines may be accompanying if she does this.
There's I would say it's not just certain areas of our county, it's all areas of our county. There's a good number of ordinances that are out there related to that. Things like you have to get on the rental registry, whether it's a short-term rental, a long-term rental. You have to let the city know about this sort of thing. Last I checked, it was like $100 a day penalty. It can get pretty ugly. The code guys are actually out there actively pursuing this sort of thing. But that's not the only thing you have to worry about. You do have to worry about it. If it's a short-term rental and that's anything less than 30 days, you have to register. You have to have the inspections done related to, number of people in the house, all that kind of stuff. They're very strict about that now. But that's the city. Call them up. They'll run you through it. Not a big it's not difficult unless you're, trying to skirt the edge, so to speak. Turning a 5-room house into a 5-bedroom house, can be problematic. However, also in your subdivisions, it may be that the HOA has issues with it. Okay. Some of the whether you can use your house as a business, whether or not you can rent property out. It can be an issue. Just because you go buy a house, it's going to be the best B&B ever. You got the city on your side, then you find out you're not allowed to rent. You've got a bit of a problem there. So those are things you need to look at ahead of time before you buy the property.
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe real estate agents don't know what the specifics are. So you need to go further than just a real estate agent. One of the things that we look at least I do when I'm buying something, say on Amazon, is I look at the reviews. And if you are thinking about hiring a real estate agent, you may want to check out our reviews. You can go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. We're very proud of our reviews, and we think you might want to take a look as well. Moving back over to Brad, Shannon emailed with the question. She says, I bought a home and we're on the unpleasant odor kick today. I have an unpleasant odor in my kitchen. She says she traced it to the garbage disposal. At least she thinks she did. Is that possible? And where is it? And why do I maybe need to replace it? She says.
No. Okay. It's really common to have stinky garbage disposals.
Really?
The problem is people don't run enough water through a garbage disposal. So I know that there are products out there, I have used them myself, that you take a little bag and you throw it into a running garbage disposal with a small trickle of water. It foams it up. It cleans it out. It leaves a nice citrusy, fresh scent, and all of that crud is cleaned out. But yeah, the trick to garbage disposals is make sure that after it's done grinding, turn the disposal off, keep the water running, because you got to move that debris through the pipes. If you don't, it just clogs your pipes up. Now, it probably just cost a bunch of plumbers a whole lot of money, because they'll be happy to come out and replace your disposer, clear your lines out, replace your lines, whatever they're going to tell you. But just keep the water running at least 30 seconds after you turn that disposer off.
30 seconds?
30, yeah.
Well,
and if you're running eggshells,
just
eggshells, any fibrous type of vegetables, I'd even run it longer than that. My house, I think I've said this before, but I have this weird drain line underneath my sink in my basement that runs about 20 feet, and it does not have much slope on it. And it is so easy for us to clog that pipe up that I actually put a separate clean out just so that I could get to it more easily from the basement, because we clog that line more often than I want to talk about.
Do you run ice cubes? Oh, go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, I was going to say, my mom always used to say, send a lemon peel on down.
Yep. And lemon peels work. My grandfather worked for a company that made garbage disposals, as I understand. So he always threw actually pieces of broken glass in there to sharpen it up. My mother used to toss ice cubes in all the time to sharpen the blades.
So you throw the glass in there to sharpen the blades?
That's what he said.
Well, isn't that going to be a problem when I stick my hand down in there to unclog it?
Yes, it
Run water, Chuck. Run water. Yeah. And you want to, before you unclog, you want to turn it off too.
Yeah.
Just only do that once. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh boy.
All right. We have two hands.
I think we got time for one more question here. Frida has an interesting question. She apparently has her home listed with a real estate agent in the south end of Louisville. And she asks in this email, can she also attempt to sell the house for sale by owner, even though it's listed? Chuck?
No, in that listing agreement, she's going to have made certain promises and warranties with her agent. She probably doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, now she can Mind you, check with your agent and her
Yeah, you
broker.
can.
You
You
can advertise it, but there are many stipulations that we as real estate agents face in terms of how you advertise property, including the broker's name, the size of the print, the letters. So you just can't go put a newspaper ad in there.
Yeah.
Though nobody's using the newspaper much anyway these days, but just putting signs out there, not so good. So the key element for you is check with your real estate agent and check with your broker, because ultimately that's going to be the thing that will help you if you want to do it. Right.
I would say if that's something that you're thinking about doing, don't do it on the sly. Everybody think, oh, I'm going to pull one over. Just mention it up front. There's plenty of realtors out there that will, do a variety of levels of service.
Yeah, and including us, but we're high end. We'll do and we do all price ranges, just inexpensive ones, expensive ones. It really doesn't matter. Coming up on the show next week, by the way, something rather interesting. We're going to answer the question why you should always take a picture of your stove before you leave on vacation. Why should? And Brad, you had a little parenthetical.
Well,
on this?
I was just saying that I wish all of my fellow inspectors would take pictures of the stoves just to make sure that they don't leave them on 500 and walk out of the house. So,
because that actually happened, but not from your inspectors, from a prior inspector from another company.
We walked into a home 4 days after another inspector had inspected it and left. He left the oven open and turned on to 500 degrees.
Open.
Yeah, open.
Open. Mm-hmm. But we will tell you why you want to take a picture of your stove before you leave on vacation on next week's show. We want to thank this week's show guests. Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a great job of getting you closed. You can pick the closing attorney that you want, and Chuck is the top in the business. You can reach him directly at 499-6360. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. And you can reach Brad and his team. They come in as a team, and they do your inspection, and he's got great people for his Team Bug Out. You can reach him at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home, I'm here to help you day and night. Call me after the show. Call me next week, whenever. Whether you're buying or selling, we can help you. And if you're thinking about selling this year or in the next couple of months, call me. We'll set up a time. I can come out and we can talk free, no obligation. And then if you decide to list and sell with us, we'd be thrilled to be able to help you get your home sold and onto your next house. You can reach me anytime at 376-5483 or bobsellslouisville.com, or you can go to WeSellLouisville.com. Folks, thanks for joining us. We're out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.